I forgot my name there for a second. It's been a long day.
We're alive! Welcome to Knitting My Shit Together, a knitting and fiber arts podcast where neurodivergence and yarn collide. My name is Willa, and I use she, her pronouns. I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and you can find me on Instagram at whatwillamake.
I forgot my name there for a second. It's been a long day.
You're like, what's my name?
I'm Annika. I'm in Moses Lake, Washington. I use they, them pronouns, and you can find me online on Instagram at Heathfield Living.
Welcome, folks. Oh, and we have to get started with our thing. We have to say hi to our number one fan. So let's go ahead and do that right now, quick. It's a tradition for new listeners. Hi, Arissa.
Hi, we love you.
So Annika and I have been away for a while because, and so
time doesn't exist.
Huh?
Time just hasn't existed.
Yeah, it hasn't. Stuff was happening. So we'll get into that. But I thought a way to get back into the swing of things is I ran this by Annika. I said, why don't we each make a top 10 list of things we did or learned during our time away, and we can each share our top 10 list.
Oh, it could have been things we learned?
Yeah. Do you want to work on yours again while I share mine?
No.
Okay. All right. You can add what you learned if you want while you share.
Okay.
Because, just so you know, confession, I have 11 things. But you'll understand why when you hear the 11. Okay. Want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So top 10 things that happened / I learned while we were away. Number 1, I got broken up with again. Number 2, I learned that all my therapy and meds really work. I was much more resilient than last time I was broken up with. I used a lot of skills.
You used so many skills.
So many skills.
So many skills, and super successfully, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You rocked it.
I'm pretty proud of myself.
You should be.
Okay. Number 3, I moved my studio. You can see it behind me. So, my partner, Matthew, who lives with me here, he was like, hey, so the basement was his man cave. And then the upstairs loft was my studio space. And he said, I feel like you could use the basement. There's more space in the basement, and I feel like you could use it better. How about we switch? And I was like, okay. And he was like, oh, yeah. And all those IKEA cubbies I have down there, which you've seen it, Annika, it's a lot. He was like, you can bring yours down, and you can have all of those. It's amazing. I have so much space. This is just a portion. This is like my sewing area, my sewing studio for Tomboy Femme bags behind me. And then I have this couch. And he had bought a ginormous screen TV when he first moved into this space. And he was like, and he paid to get it mounted onto the wall and all of this. And he was like, you can keep that down there too. So I moved the couch down here. My yellow chair's over there. I have a ginormous screen TV that is completely unnecessary. But whatevs. Now I just get to watch Anderson Cooper in life size. So I know, not too shabby. So then my yarn cabinet's over there. It's just, I have so much space. It's amazing. So that's another thing that happened. Let's see. Number 4, I learned that we are indeed going to hell in a handbasket. It's happening. Okay, number 5, skincare. It works. So, Annika,
Oh no!
they have like a gazillion step skincare routine. And I had no skin. My skincare routine is I would run my face under the water when I took a shower in the morning. And so I told Annika, okay, I want to try a skincare routine, but I won't do more than 3 steps. And so Annika gave me recommendations. They totally hooked me up, and it totally works. Like, my face feels as soft as a baby's ass. It's incredible. And
so the first time that I saw Willa since she started the skincare routine, the first words out of her mouth as when she saw me in person weren't "I missed you." They were "Feel my face." So it's made a big difference for her, obviously.
Yeah, and I've seen a slight diminishment of fine lines and wrinkles, but I'm gonna get fine lines and wrinkles. I'm 45, like that's fine. But it just, my face feels like my pores are better. It's just good. Just good. My tone has improved, I think. It's more even. I don't know. Okay, skincare works, people. And I only have 3 steps. And one of them is literally taking what are those called? Micellar water wipe. And like wiping my face. That's step 1. That's it. It's incredible. Okay. Because I told them I won't even go through the thing of like getting a facial cleanser and putting it in my hand and lather. Like, I won't do that. Just, I want to wipe, and I just, yeah. Okay. Number 6, I went on a road trip with Sultan to support Annika, and it was awesome. We all hung out, and it was amazing. I had a great time with Sultan. I had a great time with Annika. We all had a great time together and laughed and hung out, and we got to be there for Annika, and it was amazing. Number 7, millipedes aren't trying to kill me. Probably. So the basement in the summer has millipedes, and I hate them. They creep me the fuck out. So here's the deal. I'm not super scared of bugs generally. Like spiders, I let spiders live. They don't freak me out because they eat other bugs. And they're cool. Like, I'm fine with that. I don't want them like crawling all over me, but if I see one, I'm like, that's fine. Millipedes, I hate. Like, millipedes must die. And the good news is winter's coming, and they will. But Annika looked up facts about millipedes. I'm like, are they poison? Like, what, And Annika did research, and the next day gave me all these millipede facts that were actually kind of helpful. And they didn't make me love millipedes. They still all need to die, but I'm less afraid of them. Number 8, I bought breakup yarn and breakup glasses. My breakup glasses are being shipped. They're amazing. They'll probably be here by next time we record, hopefully. And the breakup yarn, it wasn't just, several sweater quantities have been purchased in the grieving process. Some really gorgeous yarn. Number 9, I learned that cutting my own hair in the long term, while less expensive, won't work because I am too particular about my hair. This is what bugs me. Like, I look in the mirror when I'm in the bathroom and I'm like, oh my God, like I see little things at the nape of my neck that I can't get on my own. And even when I feel it, like right now, I feel like I look like a human Q-tip because my hair is so short and I have a lot of it. And so it just gets puffy. And so one of the things that my stylist does is she thins my hair out for me when I get it cut, which I like more. And I can't do that myself. So hopefully I can get in soon and get it cut. But I think she has a super long list because of the social distancing stuff, which is good. But it just means, yeah. Number 10, I can knit all the things and not stress. So, if you remember from last time we podcasted, at some point in the last year, I've been like, I'm not going to shit on myself, and I'm just going to cast on whatever I want when I want it. And Annika was stressed by this. But what happened is I had all these whips just sitting around, and then all of a sudden I was like, I feel like finishing stuff. And I think within the last week, I've finished like 3 or 4 projects.
Yeah.
I have a few left to finish, but I have way less. And so now I'm like, oh, I can cast on like whatever I want. It'll be fine. I'll finish it. Some are going to be longer term, which we'll talk about in the whips portion of the podcast. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. And then number 11, my final one, is the officers who murdered Breonna Taylor still haven't been charged. And that's where I'm ending.
Okay, so for my 10 things, I took 27 credits last semester and finished with the 3.9 GPA. Woo!
That's amazing.
Yeah. I'm like honestly a little disappointed in myself that it wasn't a 4.0.
I know.
But I mean, there's only so much I can do.
I had to give them a little pep talk. And like,
okay, so you and the rest of Super Friends had to give me more than just a little pep talk, if we're really honest.
Yeah.
I asked a couple times last semester if like now was just a good time to drop out, and if I really needed a degree, another degree, and
no, I'm saying a pep talk about your 3.9 instead of a 4.0 GPA.
Oh, I'm not bitter about that still. Yeah. trying. Let's see, other things that I did. I created a Twitter account to drown out racist hashtags with K-pop fan cam. Y'all.
Okay, I'm not a huge K-pop fan. I'm not like anti-K-pop. It's just never been something I get into. The K-pop fandom world is kind of killing it with this.
Yeah. So I didn't have a Twitter. I still don't really understand the point of Twitter.
But you do like that one person who you started following because of me. So
yeah,
I
follow quite a few people on Twitter. I still don't really understand it. However, I'm really, really into posting K-pop fan cams on Twitter. If you want to get in on this and need K-pop fan cams, let me know. I'll hook you up. Also, apparently, this was like the season of Annika getting all sorts of social media, because I also got a TikTok. I don't know. I really enjoy TikTok. I do several hours at a time there.
It is enjoyable.
I've learned quite a few dances since joining TikTok, which also I'm very, really enjoying. So, anyway, I moved into an 11-foot trailer.
Surprise! I'm like, I'm not in a new studio, and Annika's like, I moved into an 11-foot trailer.
Yeah, you'll notice that my walls are not like in your face blue anymore. I'm in an 11-foot trailer.
It's an adorable trailer, though.
It really is.
It is. It's got a king-size bed.
It does have a king-size bed. But just for me, which is a lot of space. But all of my stuffed animals fit on one side to cuddle with, which is great. And like all of my clothes and yarn and books are, well, not all of my books, like 2 full bookcases worth of books are in storage. I've got a storage unit. That also goes along with it. But all the stuff that I need for school and work right now is all right here, and I don't have to get up out of bed to work. It's great. And I know that sounds like a weird, like, hashtag Capricorn, like, dream, but
Do you have
it
headphones,
really.
Annika? No, because your
What?
mic broke on your headphones, right?
Yeah, my microphone broke.
Okay, never mind. I was going to say, put in your headphones, but never mind.
What if I could? Yeah, it's not because I enjoy working so much, which, like, I really enjoy what I do, but it's because less steps to actually get my stuff done. Let's see what else I do. I dyed my hair a normal color. I hate how, well, okay, so here's the thing. We all know that, like, dyeing my hair is the one thing that keeps me from, like, shaving it all off again. And so during this pandemic time when I wasn't in the classroom and didn't have to, like, look professional, I went through 4 colors, 5 colors,
Quite a few.
a lot of colors. It was glorious, and I didn't shave my head, so, like, win-win situation. But now that my school district has started in person, I have to pretend that I'm really good at it and enjoy this. So we're back to a normal hair color. I did math on purpose, willingly, and this math was related to my garden bed. I got raised garden bed, and I planted cucumbers, butternut squash, and tomatoes, 2 different types of tomatoes. And I did math to figure out the perfect soil nutrient ratio for different types of nutrients in the soil to get, like, the best produce. And,
I
like,
how you're even competitive with gardening.
I'm not, well, okay, I don't even know why I'm trying to be like, no, I'm not,
Why
but
are you
I
trying
am.
to even argue this, right?
I know, I don't even know why I'm bothering. I have to use my horticulture degree for something, okay? I got a 4.0 in that class, thank you. Like, I got a 4.0 in fertilizers, which is, like, a really weird thing to say. But
Annika
like,
knows
no.
their shit.
No.
Did you miss
cucumber?
You missed my good pun. You said I got a 4.0 in fertilizers, and I said Annika knows their shit. That's a great cucumber.
I thank you. I was really happy with it. This is like the 5th cucumber I've gotten. And I'm so excited. And I still have, like, I think 4 more. My plants are massive, and it's really exciting because I didn't expect my math to work out so well the first time around, but it did.
Did you write it down?
Of course I wrote it down. This is me.
I wouldn't have, but
yeah, let's see, what else? I got emotionally invested in a reality TV show. So, like,
which one?
What?
Which one?
Island. So it's a they're building a new K-pop group.
Oh.
And they're singing and dancing and, like, really, really sweet camaraderie and not the typical, like, sabotage type of things that like American survival TV shows have. So I really enjoy it personally.
You know what I started watching last night? 90 Day Fiance.
That's awesome.
Matthew's watching it with me. We started with the current season 7 we're watching. I'm just like,
I have friends that will just send me just clips and they're like, you have to see this. I don't watch 90 Day Fiance. Like
my favorite is like the 42-year-old gazillionaire who somehow happened to have a 20-year-old Brazilian model fall in love with him. How did that happen? And but she's just getting her start in the modeling world, and she doesn't live in like Rio. She lives in a smaller village, small town in the north that's not as wealthy as parts of Rio de Janeiro, but he wanted to make sure she was taken care of, and so gave her his credit card and a bank card. This is before like they know if she can even legally they're applying for the K1 visa, the fiance visa.
Have they actually met though?
They've met.
Oh, okay.
And like they've met in real life. Yeah, they've spent time together. But here's what's happening. And if people do not send spoiler alerts, I just watched episode 2. So like she went and put a new car on his credit card. As baby maxed one out. He's like, yeah, if people knew how much I've really spent on her. I mean, he is a multimillionaire from the vibe I'm getting. But he said this. He said, yeah, she called and I talked to her about it and I'm just going to let it go. So now she's been denied tourist visas twice to the U.S. And so they applied for the K1 visa. So he went to Rio, got them a hotel. She went there and met him. And in the episode 2, they went to do the interview for the visa. And they asked her if she has been prostituting herself for the last 10 years. Which is a really shamey, horrible thing to ask. Like, that shouldn't matter. I'm not, like, shaming sex work at all. But what was kind of funny is he said, they were talking about it after, and he was like, do you feel insulted? Like, what I totally appreciate is that he completely advocated for her and was like, what the hell? Like, so he's calling his lawyer because he's like, are they even allowed to ask that? That's like a terrible question to ask someone. And then, he's like, I can't believe they asked you that. I mean, what would that make me? Like your pimp or like your John? And he's like, look, I don't need to pay for sex. I've never paid for sex. And I turned to Matthew and I'm like, have you really not paid for sex though? Like, she did just put a car on your credit card. But, I don't know the story. So, but here's the thing. Now, she needs to get approved for the visa, she needs to submit one form, and it's a police report saying that she doesn't have a criminal background. So she has to go get that. And then he started waxing Phyllis out. He's like, I don't know, maybe I'm too trusting. I mean, I don't know anything about her background. Like, what if she has something from her past that would prevent her? And I'm just like, I want to believe the 20-year-old supermodel really loves the 42-year-old and that it's all good and that they're, you know what I mean? Aspiring supermodel. I'll let you know what happens.
Okay.
All right. Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry for that whole tangential plot analysis of 90 Day Fiance.
All right. So number 9, I stopped knitting for 5 months.
It was bonkers. But you did so much spinning.
I did so much spinning. Yeah, I spun, what, like 5 pounds?
So much.
No, a fiber, almost 6 pounds, I think. Yeah, yeah. I also got really terrible again at posting on social media. I have like 5 or 6 posts maybe from like the past 6 months. Whoops. Um, and the other thing that I have done since our last episode was start a dye business.
I was gonna hope you were gonna say something.
Yeah, I officially started tea fuel dyeing, and
Look at the captions called it TP Old Dying. Or that. Oh,
or that.
And we're using Google Meet now, people. And one of the things we were really excited to discover is it allows captioning. And so they're completely imperfect, and we know that. But it's better than not having any captions. So, tea-fueled diving.
Tea fuel dyeing. Yeah, so I have officially started an Etsy shop, and I've been dyeing fiber, a bunch of fiber, and I've been dyeing yarn when I can get my hands on it, which is a bit harder to do at the moment because of the shortage, but okay.
This is why you have a stash, people. For yarn shortages.
Yeah, so yeah. When Willa and Sultan came out here to help me move, I so all of my yarn except for the stuff that I'm using like right now for our project, because I live in an 11-foot trailer, is in a storage unit. So I bought a like 72-gallon plastic tote.
How many of them?
8.
Okay.
There's 8, right?
I can't remember.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to fill all of these up. This is so much. Like, I'm going to have extra space to stick other things in these totes.
I was going to say, I think your stash is bigger than mine, but I think if I added in my fiber and my sock yarn, I don't think it is.
Yeah, because that was the part that took up a bunch of space for me, was my fiber and my sock yarn. Like, all of the other yarn that I have, like the yarn that I use for donation knitting and the sweater quantities that I have, like, I mean, also if you take out like the 4 boxes of yarn that I have for donation knitting.
Is this like when Donald Trump yesterday said, if we don't count New York, the United States COVID numbers are really good?
I can't believe you just compared what I said to Donald Trump.
You know what's funny, though? CNN, on the caption bar underneath, they wrote this. They wrote, Trump, quote, if we don't count New York, and then it says, parentheses, which is a state in the U.S., the United States COVID numbers are actually really good.
I don't even know what to say to that.
You did fill all the bins.
I did fill all the bins. So 4 of the bins are yarn for donations, knitting and crocheting, which I've actually been working through, which is exciting. Yeah. So there's currently, like, I'm going to self-promo here for a sec, sorry.
Yeah, do.
There's currently a couple braids of fiber in the shop at the moment. And my plan is to dye some more tomorrow night. I think that's the time that we agreed on that I could use the kitchen. Yeah. Because I live in an 11-foot trailer, so I can't, there's not space to dye in here.
I've already spun up one of the braids of Annika's fiber, and I knit a kerchief out of it, which you'll see in the future. I just set it somewhere and I can't find it, but it's gorgeous. I can show you the yarn because I do have that. This is from some of Annika's fiber, and it's like this beautiful, like, here, dirty bluey gray. I love it. So go get fiber from Annika.
Yeah.
Is that it for updates?
I think the other update that we have is that Black Lives Matter, and just because we're neurodivergent, disabled,
it's
like,
not the same
Jewish,
experience.
like, I'm Jewish, like, doesn't mean that we experience racism, and Black people also experience those same intersectionalities that we do, and have to deal with racism on top of it. So,
okay, let's move on to FOs. Now, we caucused before we started recording and decided that we're each going to share one FO from the last several months, because otherwise this would be like an 8-hour-long podcast. Because we'd start talking about FOs, we'd go on tangents, it would, yeah. So, Annika, do you want to go first?
yeah.
Or was this the one where, no, that's, okay, yeah.
Okay, so FO that I'm gonna share, here we go, lighting. FO that I'm gonna share is, I test knit the Cozy Classic Raglan Light for Just May Designs. And
I'm pulling up the picture on Instagram of it because I love this picture of you, and it just shows off the sweater so well. Look, everyone, how fucking adorable is that? And that sweater is gorgeous. Okay, sorry, I just had to let everybody see the picture. All right, go on.
So this pattern is supposed to be released, I believe, September 14th is the plan at the moment. Yeah, I'm not gonna name the yarn brand that I used because I don't agree with how they handled anti-trans matters that arose a couple times in the past 6 months. However, this yarn, like, is really, really special to me. And honestly has been like the spark of joy that I needed to get back into knitting again. So this yarn this sweater is made out of yarn that I got on Willa's birthday trip back in January, which feels like forever ago at this point. So long ago feeling. But this was the yarn that Willa found for me at the Yarnery, which is my local yarn store, even though it's like 1,000 miles away, literally. And And she found this in the clearance section, was like, oh, you need this because it's rainbow. And we happened to find out that it was on clearance for $5 a skein. And then I bought all 14 skeins.
Superwash merino. It's like a really,
yeah, it's superwash high twist merino. And I'm like, that's my jam to begin with. But like, add in rainbow and then add in $5 a skein for it. So
I love it.
But now it's a rainbow sweater that I get to wear to work and like feel comforted because I get to think of all of the really cool memories of the yarn itself. But I do want to talk about the cool part of this pattern. So Jessie May did these really cool lifted increases, and they're so pretty.
They are
so pretty. It's so pretty. This is also a really fun pattern to knit. It had like the perfect amount of like engagement and mindlessness in it, which was great. I knit a lot of this while doing virtual trainings for work in school. So that was pretty nice, actually. Yeah, that's my FO.
Okay. My FO is I started and finished my Rift tee.
So pretty.
It is the Rift tee designed by Jacqueline C. Slack. I knit it out of Holst Garn in their yarn called Coast, which is a cotton wool blend. It is also a ridiculously affordable yarn. So my size
for wool yarn, it's affordable.
Yeah, for wool yarn, it's affordable. I used probably total. I could have gotten away with 2 skeins. I think I used 3, which made this like, what did we say? Like an $18?
Yeah.
Sweater. And you can order, if you don't have a place that sells Holst Garn and you live in the continental United States and you want some, the Yarnery sells Holst online and they're incredible there. And
they have like almost all of their colors too in a bunch of their bases.
Yeah. If you live outside the continental United States, it would probably be quicker to order direct from Holst, which is holstgarn.dk. You'll get it faster because it'll ship from within Europe. I really love it. I did the boat neck. You can choose your own neckline for the front and back. So I did a boat neck for the back and a V-neck for the front. And also, typically it has a split hem and the back is a little bit longer, but I hate split hems, so I didn't do that. So I just cast on and I just did it all in the round right away so that I don't have a split hem. I really like it. I've worn it several times since I finished knitting it, and it's glorious. It was a pretty quick knit too.
Yeah.
What point was I at when I had separated for sleeves and the front and back when I was in Washington, right? I think so.
Yeah, you had just separated for front.
I think that day I ate an edible. I think I did a lot of this. And so.
Yeah. Yeah, you did a lot of that, and Sultan and I did a lot of watching cooking shows.
So yeah, my Rift tee. Yay!
Yay!
Okay, moving on to Whips. Now Whips is the one where I should go first, right, Annika? Okay.
Yes, please.
Oh boy. So here's everything that I'm showing you what I've worked on in the last several weeks, which is most of my projects because I've been on this finishing streak. So I've done some more crocheting. The one scrappy Afghan I was working on that was a giant granny square, I finished. And now I'm doing another granny square Afghan, but I'm just doing granny squares. I've decided I prefer that to making a giant granny square. I started off doing it with a color theme, and then I've decided, fuck that, like I'm just gonna get bored. So now I'm just adding in different colors. But like here's several of the squares. And this is all fingering scraps. Here's where I added some of the newer colors. And it's really fun. I think I have to do like a lot of squares because this is fingering weight yarn and I want it to be a really big blanket. So I'm just going to do all these and then like a row gets added in the attaching them together phase of the project. But I think I have like 14 squares done, maybe.
I would also like to say that you and Sultan are like enablers slash horrible influences for starting these types of projects in my life. Because, like, Sultan went through 2 Granny Square projects, then you were working on your Granny Square, like, giant Granny Square blanket, and then you started this one. I'm like, okay, I need to do a Granny Square thing, and so
did you finish yours, or is it still in progress?
Oh, it's still in progress.
Okay.
That's what I'm actually currently working on.
Oh, Sultan finished his.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
It's beautiful.
It's
beautiful.
Gorgeous. Yeah. Okay, so that's that whip. I also started crocheting washcloths for gifts for people for the holidays and also for myself. So I'm working on this one right now. It's gonna be a square one. I have to remember how I do this stitch because I forgot, and I was doing it late one night, and I'm at the beginning of a new thing. So
I think that was the night that you texted me at like 2 a.m. my time. It's like, look what I just started.
The sleep cycle. If you thought my sleep schedule was strange before, now during the COVID times, it's completely bonkers. I'm trying hard to get it a little bit more normalized. It just requires ridiculous amounts of drugs to have that happen, of the prescribed variety. Okay. This is one of the projects that's going to take me longer because for some reason I had the thought, hey, I want to knit this gorgeous linen stitch hat in fingering weight yarn. Oh, the Granny Square Afghan, by the way, it's all scraps. This, for my washcloths, I'm using Lion Brand's yarn. It's their recycled cotton. It's called Re-Up, and I really like the idea of using recycled cotton because they say on the label, get this, recycled cotton saves 5,900 cups of water per ball. So I'm going to try and use recycled cotton from now on for dishcloths and stuff. And so Lion Brand has it. It's like $1.40, $1.99 a ball. Yeah. Okay. So then
She got it at Joann's when she came out and visited me. So you can find it at your local Joann's too, most likely.
And you can also order it on linebrand.com because I ordered more of it when I got home. Yeah. So, this is the hat I'm doing in linen stitch out of fingering weight yarn because I thought that would be a good idea. And now I have to knit 10 inches of linen stitch in fingering weight yarn. It is gorgeous, okay? I don't know how well, there, yeah. But now I'm like 3.5 inches into it, and like why the hell did I think this would be a good idea? But it's going to be worth it because it's so gorgeous. So I'll just pick it up every now and then and knit a few rows and then set it down. So it's going to be a while. But this is yarn I got when I was in Sweden. And it's a local yarn shop there called, I always forget it, Litetnistan, I think. I can't remember how to say it. But they basically, like, I think it's the owner's mom just bought bare yarn and will randomly be like, oh, I wonder what happens if I do this. And it's all totally like her just having fun, which is incredible. And they had this lovely terracotta color and they only had one skein left. And so I bought it. If they would have had a sweater quantity, I would have totally bought a sweater quantity of this color. This, and the pattern is called If Jessica Jones Had a Hat, is what it's called. And the pattern is available in knit or crochet. I should have crocheted it, but the crochet pattern, you have to start out chaining like a gazillion stitches. And I'm like, I just don't feel like chaining this many stitches. So I did the knit version. Because longtail cast on doesn't seem as tedious to me. And this is a bag, by the way. I outbidded people and won this in an auction from my friend Chinwabawe, who is Alinskawe. I can never say her username. But she moved to Wyoming recently and has gorgeous bags. And this one she hand embroidered aspens on. And I love it. Okay, 2 more. I'll talk about this one. I actually have knitted a little bit on my nether garments. Not much, but a little. And I have more to go. So this is my second leg still. I started the calf increases, but obviously I have a way to go. But, I mean, the whole first leg is done.
You're doing it. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm totally going to finish these things because I want to wear them this winter. So I've been working on my nether garments. I will finish them. It's happening. I want to finish them. And I want my peanut butter and jelly sandwich stitch marker back. Okay. Finally, what I've been really diving into the last week to get done. This bag is by... Who's that podcaster? She's a redhead. She gardens a lot and spins. She lives in Indiana. Anyway, it's from her, this bag. It's one of her sweater size bags. I always wanted one of hers and but I didn't love any of the fabrics. They were all too like animal printy and things. But I saw this fabric and she was doing a pre-order for it. And I snagged one right away because I think that's really pretty. So this holds sweaters. And check this out. This is, and I'm going to have to talk about the designer with a little caveat here, okay? So, which I normally would not do, but hear me out. Okay, this sweater is called Childhood by Anke Strick. Who's German, and I am knitting it in Brooklyn Tweed Loft, which is my favorite yarn, in this colorway, which is called Newsprint. And look at this. I just joined the underarms together. I had started knitting this in Sweden with some yarn Sarah had, and I brought it back with me, but then after being dumped, I was like, I put a lot of sentimental value in things. Like, I don't get overly attached to them of, like, having to hoard. Like, when I'm done with something, I'm done with it. But I just couldn't knit the sweater anymore. I just couldn't finish it in that yarn. Because I'm like, I'm just going to feel sad every fucking time I pick this up. And I don't want to. So, I didn't. I ripped it out. And instead, I'm like, but I do have a sweater quantity of my favorite yarn, and I could cast it on in that. So here's my caveat with this sweater, and this is why I'm even mentioning it. Technically, this is like, Sarah and I measured actually when I was in Sweden. This is like 1 centimeter away from being size inclusive with the ease. So like the bust goes up to 60 and there's some extra inches after that, but when you factor in the recommended ease, it's like a centimeter short. So I did DM Anka Strick about it, and she hadn't been aware that you have to factor in ease when making it size inclusive. So I let her know, and I've talked to her before, and she was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you for telling me. I'm totally going to make that change now." You know, and in all of her patterns that have come out since, it has been that way. So I don't know. Annika, are you like, fuck her still? Or how do you feel? Is it okay that I share this? If it's not, I can edit it out later.
I haven't looked into her patterns, honestly, since I can't access the mass site of Doom anymore.
Yeah. She's building her own website, so she doesn't have to use the mass site of Doom.
Yeah, so I don't feel comfortable personally, like, being like, oh yeah, I think this is cool or this isn't, since
you don't know. Yeah.
I don't know, and I can't, like...
So there's my caveat on this pattern, but no, in all of her new patterns I've seen, she has made the difference, has changed it, and when I have reached out to her, she's completely open to feedback and like not defensive at all. It wasn't like I reached out and she like she got defensive and then had, you know, and I had to like, it wasn't any of that. She was like, "Oh my God, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. Thank you for letting me know. I'm going to do," you know, so yeah, that's that. So it's 1 centimeter off from being size inclusive once you factor in ease. But she's making the changes, and that makes me glad. And this sweater, I wish you all could feel it. Like, the loft is so amazing because it's woolen spun. And so it's so light but warm. And, I'm in heaven. Okay. And yeah, now I just have to knit the body, then do the ribbing at the bottom, and then attach the sleeves. But I finished all the short rows for the back. I finished it's a saddle shoulder raglan, so I've done that. And now I'll just have to rejoin and knit it. Oh, and socks. I have the first one done. This is the second sock. And this colorway, I can put this in the light and you can really see it, is called Goth Rainbow, and it's by Mud Punch. And I love it. Her base is like a heavy fingering, and it's really smushy and lovely, and like a massage on your feet when you walk. And yeah, this will be my second pair of socks from her yarn, but I have like a whole freaking candy jar of her yarn. That's like, I have a like 2-gallon jar that's all Mud Punch. Yeah. Okay, those are my whips. Huzzah! This is going to be a little bit longer of an episode, folks, because we haven't done this in a while. Okay. Go, Annika.
All right. So my first whip is, like I mentioned earlier, the peer pressure from Willa and Sultan. I started a granny square blanket. I am doing the Blanket of Calm by Casa Pinka, which is a free pattern, and it's available off of the mass website of Doom.
But is it not on the mass website of Doom?
Well, lots of patterns are on the mass website of Doom and off of it.
Okay.
So as long as there's the options for those who can't access it, like I'm one of those people who can't access it, like as long as the accessibility is being met, I'm fine with it. But once again, that is a decision for
I deleted my account
to make. Yeah. It's the decision for other disabled people and other affected people to make whether or not they're okay with that. But for me, I have no issue with supporting designers who are on the mask website of Doom and not on it, because
designers still need to
be able to make money.
Yeah.
So I am using all of my sock yarn scraps to make squares. I ended up with a pretty big like pack box full of leftover sock yarn because I made so many socks last year. So
you made so many socks last year.
Many pairs of socks. So yeah, so I currently have, I think, 120 or so squares made. My box is still ridiculously full of sock yarn scraps, so I'm pretty sure that there's going to be more than the 300 and like something squares that were suggested for the larger size, which is great. Like, I am all about that cozy lifestyle, so like a bigger, cozier blanket, I'm not going to complain about. Yeah. Let's see. Oops, I'm stuck. Hold on. Another. So I didn't knit for 5 months, and then was like, I'm the leader of a sock cult. So I should probably like
make some socks.
And so I finished the cable knit knee highs that I was commissioned to make and got those sent out. And
okay. Y'all,
like,
mad props to Annika for finishing those things. Cable knit knee high socks.
Yeah. Based off of their measurements too. Like, I took a pattern for cable knit socks and then did math to make sure that it would actually fit their legs and their feet, and also to I had to alter the pattern because it was just for like normal, like typical sock length, with no increases for like half or anything like that.
So then you had to add in cables, didn't you?
What?
Did you have to add in extra cables as you increased?
Yeah, I added in extra cables as I increased, and I also altered at the beginning of the pattern where some of the cables were, so I could increase into more cables easier later on in the pattern. So yeah, but those turned out really well. But once I finished those, I'm like, oh, okay, I can like knit normal socks now that I don't have like this looming, like I'm supposed to be doing something else.
The knee highs of doom.
The knee highs of doom. They really were. Like, the socks turned out lovely. I love the person that they went to. Like, I absolutely adore them. But those socks. Okay, so speaking of socks, the sock whip, one of the sock whips that I started was this self-striping bleachy yarn.
I was going to ask where that color was from.
The colorway is called Test colorway.
I like it.
I do too. Yeah. So it's called. Oh, sorry. It's called Test Pattern. And it's Felici from Nitpicks. And in case it hasn't been made clear yet enough to all of you, we don't do the bargain yarn shaming here. Like, I'm all about that bargain yarn lifestyle. So Felici is generally about $5 for a 50-gram ball of self-striping superwash merino and nylon yarn, which is super, super cheap when it comes to
self-striping
and honestly sock yarn in general.
You need 2 of them to knit a pair, just so people know.
If you aren't doing heels and toes and cuffs in an alternate yarn, you will need 2 balls. But I got this one on clearance for $3 a ball. So this pair of socks is gonna cost $6 total, which is pretty exciting. And I'll have more socks. I knit almost this whole entire sock today in the all day long staff meeting that I was in. So, I mean, it was productive staff meeting wise, and it was productive sock knitting wise. Okay, Zoom meetings are great for some things. And then the other sock whip that I started, because I have 2 sets of sock needles, which means that I can have 2 sock projects. Is I am knitting.
Is that Sultan's?
This is Sultan's. Yeah, this is from our friend Sultan, who is now dyeing his own yarn and fiber, which is really exciting.
You can find him. You can buy his fiber. His follow him on Instagram, and then he'll put when he's gonna do his shop. It's Alwan Sultan. Is that how you pronounce it? You think?
I don't know. Ask him.
We should.
But he dyed this beautiful knits, and it's rainbow. So, like, of course, we know I love it. And yeah, it's making really pretty socks. I'm currently doing the ribbing on the cuff of sock number 1. And it was done. So yeah, so that's. And then, okay, so like, I have a lot of whips. I apologize. One of the other whips that I have right now is like I said, I'm going through all of my stash donation yarn, and I've been crocheting hats for donation for later this fall and winter when it gets cold. And I have made 10 so far.
Don't you have a charity hat crochet pattern?
I do. I have a free charity hat crochet pattern. It's available on the website of Doom for free, and I also have a link to Google Docs, which I will stick in our link tree because I don't think I've done that yet. So let me write that down so I don't forget. And yeah, and then my last whip is
because I might be willing to crochet some charity hats. Do you do kid sizes or what?
What?
Do you do kid sizes?
Yeah, so the size that I did is a like mid-level kid size. If you increase your hook size or increase the yarn size, then you'll end up with a bigger hat that can fit like an adult. Or if you use a smaller yarn size.
Basically, I just do a magic circle and then just start crocheting and doing my increases until I get as big as I want around, and then just start going down, right?
Kinda.
I'll look at your pattern.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm making our podcast today even longer because it's the end of the day, so the ADHD meds are gone. They're not in my brain anymore.
Okay, so the last the last whip that I have is like the one I think I'm most excited about, and the most angry about. So my school district is going back in person, and I am with fourth graders this year, and I'm really, really excited. Like, I'm actually like, I'm really looking forward to the start of the school year. And since we're going back in person, the state has mandated that the students and the staff have to wear masks when they're in the classroom and on school premises because
science works.
Science. The CDC recommends it. Every other country is like, wear a mask.
If we all had been wearing them, we would not be in the predicament we are as badly if we'd all been doing it and actually never mind.
Yeah.
They do say, the research does say the mask, you have to do social distancing too, but that, like, being totally isolated isn't as necessary if you're not in an at-risk group, and if you're wearing a mask, practicing good hand hygiene and social distancing. Like, all those things, which is doable. Sultan and I did it.
I do it every day.
Yeah.
Because there are so many families in our district that can't, or that will not be financially able to afford masks for their kids and to have enough masks because they have to have clean masks every single day on school premises. And kids are gross, y'all. Kids are gross. I love them dearly. Like, I chose to work with them on purpose because I love them, but kids are still gross. And so I have been making mass amounts of masks for the students. Yeah.
Okay, Annika and I were DMing last night, and they were like, yeah, I cut out 40 masks today. And I was like, okay, if I ever say I think I'm going to sew 40 masks, just do an intervention immediately.
Yeah,
I mean, it's amazing what you're doing, though. It's awesome. And I salute you. But
I cut out 40 masks while doing school stuff last night because I had to be part of a meeting for school, and I cut out masks while participating. I mean, that worked out really well, actually. But I'm almost done. I only have 2 more fabrics to cut masks out of at the moment, and then, yeah, my plan is to, like, do mass amounts of sewing this weekend since it's a long weekend. Yay! So, but yeah. So that leads us into our mental health moments. We're just gonna segue right into there. This week's mental health moment, we're talking about masking.
What's it brought to us by?
Skincare routines.
Okay, it's brought to us by S for skincare routines.
Masks. Sorry, I couldn't resist. It's brought to us by N for neurotypicals aren't the only people who live on this planet. or T for I'm so tired. Or I guess that would have been S for I. Wait, no, I for I'm so tired. I'm tired. Sorry. And I think the number 2 for how many days it took me this week to get back into the habit of masking full time while at work.
And mine would be the number 3, which is the number of hours I had to do it at a meal with people for the first time in a really long time. So that's what brought this all about. Restaurants in Minnesota are allowed to do outdoor seating if they're distanced and it's outdoor. Which, that's only going to last another month maybe. Because then it'll be snowing. So, my partner's best friend had his birthday, and they invited me to go get food with them. So we went to a restaurant that has outdoor seating, and you wear your masks when you're not eating, and yeah. And then I came home, and when I came home, I was video chatting with Annika and another one of our friends. And so we have a group of friends who we all hang out and whatever, and we're all neurodivergent. And we don't mask in front of each other. Like, we just are ourselves. So, like, occasionally weird shit happens. But we don't really care because we're all like, whatever, this just is. And there's a lot of tangentalness and a lot of, I don't even know. And we all just kind of embrace each other how we are. Like, they all know that I'm going to get on and I'll chit chat and whatever for a while. And then at some point, I'm just going to be like, okay, I'm leaving. And they're all just like, okay. And they don't take it personally. Like, it just works. And so I haven't really, we just don't mask in front of each other. Which, if you don't know what masking is, it's when you're, as a neurodivergent person, expending energy and having to be consciously aware of intentionally doing behaviors so that you're masking some of your behaviors that come about because of your neurodivergence, and instead are like expending energy to pass as neurotypical, which may or may not be doable depending on the person, the situation, the day, a lot of factors. And when I jumped on video chat with Annika and another friend of ours, it hit me. And I shared with them, I was like, yeah, like, I had a good time. It was fine. Like, nothing terrible happened. Like, I had a perfectly delightful meal. But I realized that, like, I'm not used to masking anymore. I just don't have to really anymore because, I mean, I run Tomboy Femme Bags and here. And all my closest friends are neurodivergent, and we just don't mask in front of each other. And so that was the first time I had to do it in a really long time. Because I was out with the neurotypicals. It was exhausting. Like, I was like, wow, okay. So, yeah. And then that got Annika and I talking about it. And you've had to start too, right?
Yeah, so this week has been the first full week that I've been full-time in the classroom for this school year. We don't have any students in the classroom yet. It's all been like prep and training for like this upcoming school year. And like a bunch of my coworkers have been there. And I have really only talked like face to face with my other neurodivergent friends since shortly after the beginning of quarantine last year. And like in real time, like I've done a lot of like video messaging back and forth with my host teacher and whatnot, but like when things like that happen, you can do as many takes as you need to do to get like the outcome that you need. And since I'm a planner, like I write out what I need to say word for word before actually doing it.
Really?
But like when you're doing face-to-face conversations, all of a sudden, like it was so difficult. And so, like the first, I'd say 2 days of this week where I was in the classroom with my host teacher again, like I had to watch, like I had to make like actual notice of what behaviors I was doing, like talking to myself,
Mine is the like stimming that I do that I don't realize I'm doing and will like annoy the shit out of people.
Yeah, there was there was stimming on my end. There was like also too the I'd say the general bluntness of neurodiverse people is different than the acceptable bluntness of most neurotypical groups, especially, and that's exceptionally true, I feel like, in the like professional workplace.
It's funny too because I'll hear neurotypicals talking and they'll be like, she's just so blunt, or like, I'm just so blunt, and then I'll hear them talking and I'm like, that's not that blunt.
Yeah, so like I've had to retrain my brain to give appropriate responses to coworkers and tone down the sarcasm level and my general thoughts, vocalizing my general thoughts level too. So
this is Dinah, everyone.
So it's been a long week, and I think I'm like honestly more emotionally tired from that than anything else. So.
And I would say, I think it's different for everybody, but for me, when I'm masking, it's like an internal dialogue I'm doing of like coaching myself. Like, oh, Willa, you should probably do this because that would seem polite. Or like when somebody's talking, I'm like, okay, like in my head, there's a dialogue going where I'm like, nod your head, look like you're paying attention, like, look like, you're getting distracted, re-engage, and like, quit shaking your leg, or don't
you haven't made eye contact in exactly so many seconds. Like you need to look at them close to their eyes again so they know that you're actually paying attention to them. And
yeah, don't touch your face so much. Like,
which I mean is just general good.
I know.
COVID.
That's why when the COVID thing started and people are like, wash your hands, don't touch your face, I was like, I'm screwed and I am going to get this disease because I touch my face all the time. And I got it the first month. So
yeah. And it's really common for neurodiverse people. And I know specifically for people with ADHD to like do a lot of like face touching and face picking. So I do think it's really important too that one, like we just straight out say that if you have to mask for like job security or just like like, we're not shaming you for that.
Oh,
like,
no, we get it. We all have to do it. Yeah.
I work in an elementary school. I have to daily. Yeah. Like, there's no shame in that at all. And like, we totally like feel how hard it is.
And we all have to do it in some situations. You just do.
Yeah. The other part of it too is that we also like want to stress the importance of, for neurodiverse people, creating and joining those spaces where you're supported by other neurodiverse people, where you don't need to mask, and creating those spaces. Because like, being neurodiverse isn't a bad thing. It isn't something that like you should feel guilt or shame over. Like, and while our culture has made it only acceptable to be neurotypical, like, that's not the only acceptable way. And like, you being neurodiverse is like,
it's nothing to feel weird about. It's not like your problem. It's just that society isn't set up for neurodivergent brains. It's set up for neurotypical brains. So yeah. Also, I would say too, if you don't have a place and a social situations in which you can rest from masking, just as a resource, NAMI, the National Alliance for Mental Illness, if you go to their website at NAMI.org, they have peer-led social and support groups that are online right now during quarantine. So that's a way you could meet groups of other neurodivergent people to hang out with. And we, of course, had Stitch Group, and we'll probably, I don't know, what's the deal with that? We haven't really talked about it yet. Is it still happening? I don't go, clearly.
No, since Zoom decided to be terrible, we stopped doing Stitch Group because Willa and I...
But we can use this now, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'll give you my username and password. Or I'll see if I can add you as a moderator.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll put the details out about that, but that's another space. But, yeah. Anything else to say about that?
We do, while we, like, don't support neurotypicals making us have to mask to make society more acceptable and professional, we do support the CDC's guidelines that you should wear a mask if you leave the house.
Wear a mask.
And be around people. That and skincare are the only types of masking that this podcast supports.
Because science.
The science.
If you are not registered to vote, depending on what state you live in, you still probably have time, depending on what state. But you should go to the website for your Secretary of State's office in your state and get registered and see if you can and get registered to vote. Someone said people should think that they're voting as if their life depended on it. And you kind of are. So, vote. If you are able. I think that's it, right? Are we going to do another podcast next week? I think we should. This was fun. It felt so good to be back. I think I wanted to wait to come back until I felt ready, when it would feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm glad we did.
Me too.
So we'll see you within the next week or so. Most likely. This is what we're like, tired and not on ADHD meds.
Actually, I'm like wide awake right now.
I'm tired.
But I'm not on ADHD meds. Mine have worn off.
I mean, it is 4:17 a.m. here.
Oh, it's only 2:17 a.m. here. Like, I still have like another 2 hours
Yeah.
or maybe 3, depending on how awake my body decides to feel.
At first I
before
thought,
my body's
maybe
like,
I'll even
"Wait."
edit before I go to bed. But now I'm like, nope. I'm going to take trazodone and go to bed.
I think I'm gonna cut out math. Like, my brain is too tired to work on lesson plans right now, but I'm awake enough to cut out masks.
Okay, so we'll sign off from here and see you next week.
Yep.
Bye.